Welcome to Management Matters. I'm James Christian Blockwood. This week, we're back with another special presentation, highlights from the most recent installment of our Critical Conversation event series, which includes the Academy's recently released report, Bringing AI to Main Street, Maximizing Artificial Intelligence Positive Impact on Municipal Economies, a research initiative sponsored by Google to support local and regional leaders in navigating the fast-evolving AI landscape. This event features Senator Mike Rounds, Montgomery County, Maryland CIO Gail Roper, Academy Studies Director Brenna Isman, and Academy Fellow Marcelo Giugale. Thanks to all for tuning in.
This is going to be a phenomenal event. We're very happy and pleased that we have a partnership with Google on a very important topic. There's a lot of debate about the implications of artificial intelligence, and you'll hear about that from our experts today. But one thing that's not for debate is that it is changing how we live our daily lives right now and has the potential to change everything about how we do, how we learn, how we do things, how we govern in the future. And so I want to thank Google for being a sponsor on this important topic. And in particular, I want to thank Kristen Mattern and her entire team. They have been excellent throughout this entire process. And I don't want to take much more time than that. So let me just make sure that I introduce Marcelo Giugale, who will talk a little bit more about the report and the findings within it.
Thank you, James, very much. Let me start with two contextual observations. The first one is, I'm not an author of the report. I get no credit for what says here. I'm just a member of the advisory group for the report team. And the team so kindly said, would you mind being our spokesperson, which I'm happy to do. The second contextual observation is that if AI makes you feel somewhere between optimistic and scared, you are in the right event. And this is a report for you. I was given exactly 10 minutes and 3 slides to tell you what the report says. And success for me will be that you remember 3 words by the time you go home, the ones you put out at dinner table with your family. And those 3 words will be impact, learning, and readiness. Impact, learning, and readiness. So what does the report say about these 3 words? Well, the first is impact, no? And by now, we, the profession, have enough data and macroeconomic models to run econometric forecasts on what AI will do for the economy as a whole, for the macroeconomy. And when you look at those models, and I'm a retired econometrician as well, because I've been playing with this when we were doing it by hand on a calculator, what I see now are forecasts that go from optimistic to super optimistic. To the point of some of them saying the growth in the productivity of an economy, which is the closest proxy you will find for how much you are developing, the growth in that productivity will see an increase of 1.5 percentage points per year for the foreseeable future. Now, let me tell you what that means. It means in a generation we all go on vacation. No more work. This is how impressive this could be. Now, the downside of this is that we don't have the same kind of data and models to do the estimates for local economies, be that municipalities, cities, communities. We don't. So the team took an alternative approach, which I thought was pretty smart. They went for a bunch of actual examples of adoption at the local level of AI tools, whether it's generative AI, perceptive AI, predictive AI. They took a bunch of cases. And they took cases that varied nicely across geographies, all the way from Chicago to Honolulu, and across sectors. They also went for, say, recycling, insurance, NGOs, academia. They just pick actual cases across geographies and sectors, and across what they call local organizations. That's the terminology they use to say businesses, public agencies, as I said, NGOs, colleges. So when you look at all those cases, you come up with an impression. And the impression that you will remember is this. Adoption of AI has not been painless. There is friction, cultural, technical, educational. People don't know really how to manage computers, let alone AI. So there has been friction. But if there is one common ground for all the cases, that this thing increases your efficiency a lot. There is a significant increase in the metrics of efficiency, whether that is processing times, cost savings, customer satisfaction. However you look at it, whoever touches it, once it's adopted, becomes more efficient. So message one is the impact is positive. So if it's a force for good, the next question is, well, how should, if at all, local authorities move to foster, to accelerate the adoption of AI in the local community? How they become enablers? That's the word that the team uses. And honestly, the team proposes a framework for it. I've been lazy with my slides, but these were the cases, but this is the framework that they propose. They say you should go for a framework that they call iterative, made up of short, testable cycles, constant learning, and focus on the end user. What does it all mean? It means don't go for pharaonic, super expensive, long-term projects. And you say, why? I mean, this looks good, but let's make it big. And the answer is because the speed at which AI technologically itself is evolving will make you obsolete within a month. So if you say, I'm going to pay for this gigantic data center, even before anybody asks me for it, probably the wrong approach. Because somebody somewhere in the world may conclude we don't need so much energy, which is something that we thought only 6 months ago. So the team is saying, go short, go testable. That word is important, testable. Continue learning from what you are doing. That is only possible, they say, if you build a network of partnerships. Not one partnership, not Google and Napa only. Is partnership with the whole community. They speak of advocates, service suppliers, academics, users themselves. Just create not just one partnership, but a network of partnerships to keep this learning going all the time. Now, however, they say, even if you have the partnerships, the framework will tell us that if you don't have what they call the fundamental structures for AI, you will be pushing on a string. You will be promising things to your partner that you cannot deliver. What are these fundamental structures? Well, things like obviously broadband, infrastructure, the skills of your workforce. Is digital literacy something that in your town people have, or they are far from that? Very important, the governance of your data. One of the frictions we detected in all these cases is that people don't know if they can use the faces that they pick with the face recognition machine. What happens if the person is undressed? Can I pick that information? So the legal side of it is complicated. So the message is, make sure that you have your structures, not just your partnerships. And then comes the final point, which is, how do I know if I have the structures? No? So the team provides something that they call a checklist, 26 questions that you should ask yourself, divided in 6 categories. And again, the categories are infrastructure, workforce, sustainability. If you're going to put money, will you be able to put money in the future as well, not just today? Governance of data. They keep going with categories, add up to 26 questions. When I look at those questions, I'm not going to bore you with 26 questions, don't panic. What I come off with is, first, you should ask these questions even if you are not planning to foster AI in your community. These are the type of questions that the local leader should grab in a piece of paper at night with a glass of wine and think about it. Do we have all this here? Or at least what are we missing? Why would you do that if you're not planning to push AI? Well, because it's a self-assessment of your local development plan. Are you doing something that is so obsolete compared to this that you shouldn't? Or are you more or less in time? I promise, one more minute. I have my 10 minutes here. The second impression that you get from this checklist, and this is something that a fiscal economist like me will love, is that taxpayer money is not by itself the answer to expanding the use of AI. It actually may or may not require more money. I'm sure there will be something that you have to pay for at the end of the day, but the message is, be sure that you are ready. Maybe you have what you need. It's a question of organizing yourselves. Let me finish again with these 3 words in one storyline. AI will make you more efficient, no question about it. If you are going to go for it, don't go pharaonic projects. Go short, testable, and don't do it alone. And by the way, you have no escape but to check whether you're ready to do it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Great job. Really appreciate it. So I'm Marcus Jadot with Google Government Affairs and Public Policy. Thank you all for being here. I have a great honor of introducing a panel, which I will do so shortly. But before I do so, I want to just say a couple words. Marcelo really captured the need for adoption of AI tools. At Google, we believe that AI is perhaps the most profound technology humanity is working on. And it has the potential to solve some of our biggest challenges and unlock potential for progress in every human endeavor, from healthcare, agriculture, across the board, and drive the economic growth and productivity gains that you've already heard of. But that progress isn't inevitable. It really does depend on proactive activity by leaders to drive adoption and drive the innovative potential of technology. And at Google, we are focused on driving responsible innovation. And that has grounded our work in artificial intelligence and will continue to drive our work going forward. So huge pleasure to welcome the panel to the stage, starting with Senator Mike Rounds, who not only is one of the leading voices on national intelligence and national security and intelligence in the United States Senate and in the country, he also is co-chair of the Senate Artificial Intelligence Caucus. Senator, join me. Yes. And I will forewarn the group that the senator has votes in about 15 minutes. So we're going to try to move really quickly. Also have the pleasure of introducing Gail Roper, who is CIO of Montgomery County, Maryland. Gail, thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
And finally, Brenna Eisman, who is with NAPA. She is the director of Academy Studies at NAPA. So thank you all for joining. And Senator, in the interest of getting the most out of your time, I'd love to maybe start with a couple of questions for you. Obviously, our conversation today is focused on adoption and building partnerships that drive AI adoption, that will drive partnerships, cross-sectoral partnerships. We know that in order to really make the most of AI, we are going to need to focus on unlocking AI benefits with small businesses, the workforce, and across communities. From a DC perspective, and I know that you've served as governor in the state legislature. You know government very well from all levels. From a DC perspective, what are your thoughts on what the federal government can do to drive adoption without being overly prescriptive in the economy? And then I'd love to, before we lose you, talk some about the role that AI can play in supporting national security and defense.
Well, and thank you for the opportunity today. And I think this is great that you're actually looking at this at a local, state and local level, because this is really where this is going to drive to. And this is really, in a lot of cases, where the threats will be as well. So thank you for the opportunity here. I'm from South Dakota. I grew up there. I love going back every week, and that's something that kind of keeps you grounded in terms of that. But what you also get are lots of questions when you're back home about how is this going to work and what's AI going to do? And my message to begin with when I'm back home is look, it's not going to go away. It's for real. You need to take advantage of the opportunities, but also recognize the risks that it will entail. So what are you going to do at the state and local level, and how does the federal government reach into the middle of it? Infrastructure is going to be a huge part of what we're going to need if we're going to take advantage of artificial intelligence in terms of making it available. I look at it and I tell people it's an agentizer. It makes things go faster. You look at more information. You can look at it quickly, while at the same time, you can make things happen that otherwise would not happen. You're already seeing AI with regard to when you're looking at self-driving cars, okay? It's there. It's for real. Where does the impact? It's right there in front of you when you're talking about a street in a local community. It will happen. But along with that also comes the threats. And this is where I think the federal government can come in. We have to be able to lay out for communities, these are the things that you can do to enhance your ability to use it. At the same time, these are the things that you've got to look out for. What am I going to talk about in particular? I sit on the Intel Committee. I sit on the Armed Services Committee. We watch and see what right now is happening in cybersecurity. One of the first things that you're going to see at the local level is somebody on the other end going to be talking about what they can do to cause you harm. And what are you going to do to protect your systems? Water systems, electrical systems, utilities of all sorts. What's going to be the first attempt or the first thing that you see when you come in contact with somebody else who is ahead of you in terms of the use of artificial intelligence? And it's going to be a bad guy on the outside knocking on your door, basically saying, by the way, if you want your water system to work correctly, there is a fee that you're going to be paying us. And it's going to be a cyber program. You will also find that they are going to try to find a way to shut down your electrical systems. They're going to try to figure out a way to make your street lights so that they're not necessarily operating appropriately. This is where the partnerships are going to come in between the federal government and the local units of government. We need the ability to help you protect against those types of things. That partnership starts with us understanding who the bad guys are, doing our best to stop them before they ever get into your systems, and being able to move at a faster pace than what they can move, so that we not only identify it and we stop it and we share that information with other entities so that they can patch their systems as well. So just in terms of the first things that I see out there, it's going to be how do we address the threats of other people that are going to be moving to take advantage. We call them the bad guys. The vast majority of them are overseas. They're going to come in through the internet connections that are there. But we need the communities to be aware of it, that nobody is immune to it, and that the people that are in your community are not immune to it either. So first step.
Senator, would love to pick up on the theme of partnership between the federal government and state and local governments. How should we think about the federal government creating incentives for state and local governments to develop resiliency in the face of the onslaught of cyber threats?
Really a good question, because first of all, part of it is education. Okay, and part of it is for local officials to learn as much as they can about artificial intelligence. Matter of fact, Google has, I think it's called Grow in Google or Grow with Google, yes, which would be an excellent way just to get a 101. We can't be afraid about talking about artificial intelligence and about what its impacts are going to be. So take the time to get involved and ask the questions. We're all starting out at a kindergarten level, preschool level maybe even, and working our way through to the second, third, and fourth grade when it comes to artificial intelligence and how it will integrate itself into everything that we do. Whether you're talking about energy, whether you're talking about security, infrastructure, operations, and so forth, all of it is going to have a little bit of AI involved in it, whether we like it or not. The federal government steps in terms of being the first line of defense against overseas stuff coming around, but also to be able to incentivize so that local units of government and the businesses that you have understand how quickly this is going to integrate. It's going to start with energy, and it's going to start with broadband. Energy, we do about 1,300 gigawatts of production in the United States, or we use about 1,300 gigawatts of power. Artificial intelligence will easily use, between now and the next 3 to 5 years, at least another 50 gigawatts, and perhaps as much as 100 gigawatts. We don't have the ability to move that fast. From 1,300 total right now to going to 1,400 is going to take time to do. But local units of government should be talking right now to their energy sources. How much is going to be available for us? What about people coming in, knocking on our door saying, we need to have the ability, if we're going to have a data center here close by, should we run away from it? Or should we figure out a way so that we can utilize that data center and be a home for a data center that might very well pay a significant amount in terms of local sales taxes, paying for the revenue itself, perhaps fixing the difference between what my low end of my power use is and my high end, and perhaps using the spot in between so that we're more efficient in the delivery or the use of that energy source. That's what the local units of government are going to have an opportunity to do. At the federal level, we've got to be able to help them understand just exactly what that need is going to look like. But you've also got to have those businesses not afraid to walk in and to say, look, I'd like to be able to do this. I'd like to be a part of this, but I'm concerned about infrastructure. And then to have that community talk about what their needs are and to be a partner with them in providing that infrastructure. And once again, at the federal level, we've got to make sure that, number one, in the defense of our country, that's our primary responsibility. When the time comes, and at this stage of the game, we have more than just a competitor in China. Today, they are an adversary. And it's unfortunate, but we have to recognize that. Here's what scares me, and then I'll get off my high horse, okay? We have 5 domains that we have to protect our country from: air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace. The one item that hits all of the other domains is the cyberspace side of things. And it's the place where it is the easiest to get into. It has, borders don't protect us. Oceans don't protect us. And when you integrate artificial intelligence into a cyber attack, it means it goes faster and they can change it more quickly. And when that happens, one of the first things that they will do, our adversaries will look at it and say, how can we disrupt the American public? And at the local level, well, it might mean that you might not be able to get your airline reservation as quickly as you could otherwise. It might mean very well that your cell phone doesn't work as easily as it otherwise would. It might mean that your connections are just slower. It might also mean that on the electrical grid, things aren't working as well as they should, and you're having brownouts. And also for transportation, it might very well mean that your systems aren't working the way that they should in terms of your rail lines meeting, and your vehicle movement systems, whether it's street lights or otherwise, might very well not work as well as they should. Those are ways in which people can slow down our ability to respond to an outside attack. But there is not going to be a national problem, a national attack on the United States, unless it starts with a cyber attack. And it will impact local units of government and the businesses, including your financial institutions.
So, Senator, I know we're running out of time, and there will soon be a member of your staff are telling you that you need to go. I think I see the sign. Would love to get your thought. You've outlined the risk. What are you most optimistic about when it comes to AI and how it will help us manage the future?
Number one, it will help us in defending our country as well, because we have to stay ahead of the bad guys. But the second part, which I think is so critical, is in terms of health care. It will revolutionize health care. And by that, I mean, I think finally we're going to cure diabetes. I think there's a real opportunity to actually delay or stop Parkinson's disease. I think we can delay, or on a longer period of time, the onset of Alzheimer's. And I think within a very short period of time, if we can actually do our appropriations process and put money into the biomedical research that we have to, I believe that the vast majority of cancers can be cured in the next 5 years. That's what artificial intelligence will do. And look, healthcare impacts every single family in every single community. We've got to make sure that this gift of artificial intelligence is integrated into the biomedical research and the healthcare in every community, and that everybody, whether you're on a private insurance program or you're on a Medicare or a Medicaid program, has equal access to a quality of care that they have never seen before. I'm optimistic that that's what will drive the American public to say, this is the right thing, it's moving in the right direction, and we've seen it personally in our own families.
Thanks so much, Senator. And with that, I think you've got to go off and make your
I
vote.
didn't even get a chance to say hi.
Nice to share the stage.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Brilliant job.
I'll sneak on out.
Thank you all for your patience.
You're very welcome.
The Senator off. Any interest in joining the panel? Come on up. Sure. I think we have time.
You're asking for trouble.
Well, that's what we're here for. And we had an extra seat. So thank you very much for your patience. We knew that the Senator had a 5:30 vote, and he is 2 minutes into a short window to get there. So, Senator, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Now, thank you. Gail, perhaps I can begin with a question for you. If I could, I had a couple prepared. As a CIO of one of the leading counties in the space in AI adoption, what advice would you give other local leaders on how to effectively engage with partners to move the discussion around AI impact forward?
I would start, and I think that the basis for understanding AI in the government space is to begin to understand who you need to talk to, who you need to partner with, what are those entities that you need to bring together. As part of our AI strategy, we have about 12 partners. Some of them include AARP. We have a community of seniors. Seniors are working longer. Seniors are the new entrepreneurs. So we're working with all aspects of the population in Montgomery County, including a program where we're actually working with college students to come in and look at the various departments. We have 43 departments in Montgomery County. So we have a health department, we have a sustainability department. And what we've done is target those students to begin to look at use case. So we bring them in, they're getting the education that they need, but they're side by side with my developers, learning how to use AI, learning how to target and understand business needs, learning how to begin to use the technologies to solve problems. I think the major issue for the public sector is to understand that our greatest asset is our data. And it's really important for us to engage with local companies that can begin to come in and do those things that honestly haven't been done in the government sector for a very long time. And that's the health and observation around what the senator was talking about. We monitor our data 24/7. So we have tools. I can tell you everyone in my organization that is using AI today and how they're using it. And some of those matters really begin to bring in local vendors. We have what we call our local pool of vendors. So we're bringing in individuals into our organization that are learning as we're learning. This is something none of us have done before. So I think the major thing that we have to understand is that we'll be doing more at the local level with data than we've ever done in the past. We haven't had to scrutinize the use of data, what we call the cleanliness of our data, and we'll actually use a lot of local companies to begin to do that. The other thing that we are doing as it relates to being in the community is we're doing the senior programs. We're using AR, augmented reality and virtual reality on the AI to teach history to students. We've got lots of historical buildings, and we've created a bot called Shirley. And Shirley actually, if you walk up to the Oakley cabin in Montgomery County and use your cell phone, point at the QR code, Shirley comes alive, and you'll see chickens walking around in the yard. And it actually takes you back to how Oakley cabin was used in the past. So we're using the technologies to begin to educate. We're using the technologies as we interface. We were one of the first counties in the country to develop a bot for our 311 activities, which is where citizens call in and ask all kinds of questions. We're on our third generation of that 311 bot today. It speaks 147 languages. You're able to talk to it. You're able to actually type into it. So those are the kinds of things that we've been getting a lot of national attention in terms of our AI strategy. And the other thing I would mention is we have what we call an AI Center of Excellence, and that forum really is for us to begin to talk not only to our departments and what their needs are, but also to the public. So when we go out to talk about our 311 solution, we're out in the community talking to citizens about what they need and what they would want to do. So we're trying to touch all aspects of the organization. We've gotten quite a bit of grant money from the state to begin to deploy laptops to underserved communities, probably at the tune of about 20,000 to date. And then we're also making sure from a broadband perspective, we have our own, Montgomery County has its own broadband infrastructure. We've moved a lot of our data off premise into the Equinix data center in Virginia. So we tunnel our data to the Equinix data center in what we call an immutable pipe that is off of the internet to protect our data. We're doing very little on-premise data. So we're using the cloud, of course, and we're doing less of the on-premise because it's more vulnerable than if you were doing it the way we're doing it now. We've begun to provide access and service for some of our partner local municipalities. They're riding on our infrastructure. Montgomery County, of course, provides broadband infrastructure for the school district and Montgomery College. So we want to continue that strategy because infrastructure is extremely important. And we feel like we found ways to begin to build that shield that we'll have to have in the next 10 to 15 years to protect our data as we move along.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Very much. Brenda, would love to bring you in. Obviously, we heard a description of the methodology in the report. Congratulations again. Across the information streams that you synthesized to bring the report together, would love to hear about some of the pitfalls that you saw communities experience in the early adoption cycle.
So as we generally do when we're looking at our work, we try and frame it more in terms of what are the opportunities, and let's say what opportunities could be missed if local leaders aren't thinking about this. I think for the most part, there's a real recognition that no one entity can do this on their own, not the private or public leadership, not the schools, not the other associations or organizations. But I think sometimes when there is this real anticipation and enthusiasm for something, you kind of jump in head first as opposed to taking a little more time to think about, where am I, where are we on this continuum, and really taking those first steps really seriously, like thinking about the asset mapping to really look and see where you have your strengths and your capacities. And you can do that by a lot of public engagement, holding public forums to make sure that you're getting that information, and really can then start start quickly to move towards a plan to bridge those gaps. Marcelo mentioned the self-assessment, and I think just looking at all of those areas through, being very deliberate about things such as the foundational infrastructure, the workforce, the tech and financial assistance needed, the sustainability, the open data, all of those things as leaders are trying to move this ball forward in a deliberate way, taking that agile approach to it, which, thinking about software development principles and really looking to see what, getting the answer about what does the customer need, and then organizing the activities to address those needs and really being able to take that iterative approach as hopefully as your technical capacity expands and you're making more success to be able to pivot and refine your approach. But again, if you're not doing that in a way that's engaging all of the partners at the local level in your community, that's going to be a real missed opportunity. I won't say mistake.
Yeah. Are there attributes, either starting place attributes or partnership attributes that were predictive of success?
That's a good question. I think, again, there are some of the attributes that were most the self-reflection, being able to take a step back and look at where you are was, I think, very would be a really good indicator of success moving forward. And again, I mean, that agile framework of saying, okay, well, we've kind of failed, we'll fall fast and move on, and then turn to what's going to be the most effective path forward was, I think, came through in a lot of the case studies. All 15 of them, maybe not in all 15 of them, but certainly I think that was probably a through line, and really working not only in the local community, but working with state partners and federal partners where possible to maybe move things forward and be able to make progress on that adoption scale.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Thank you very much, Marcelo, for joining us. Impromptu addition to the panel. From your talk, your focus on cost really stood out to me. That I find that at inflection points like this, making the case that adopting the technology and realizing productivity gains more than pay for themselves is an argument that's important to make, especially in the public sector. You made a bit of a case for it. Would love to hear more based on your experience both at the bank and your role with the Academy. How should we think about and talk to public administrators about the need to take a long view in terms of adopting this technology, iterating on the technology, and the cost-saving potential that's embedded in adopting this technology?
Well, let me say first, these productivity increases that we all trust will happen, are starting to happen with AI, are technically a free lunch for society as a whole, meaning you will be better off after you invest in it. The question is, who eats the lunch? Because you as a government may say, I'm going to use taxpayers' money to allow for more adoption of AI, and that increases the profit of a private company. So the shareholders are super happy. Or you may say, no, I will push for AI in academia. So my students will have now access to more languages. I was super impressed. I had to say, Gail, my admiration for the work you do is limitless. So then my students, my new generation, will be the benefactor of my use of public money, which is a dilemma we have always when we spend money that doesn't belong to us, belongs to the taxpayers. Now, having said that, the very idea that there is a free lunch somewhere there is incentive enough for local leaders to step forward. You were asking, what are the predictors that the government at the local level will be successful in fostering more adoption of AI? And I will guess open, transparent, responsive governments will be the ones that will step forward first and be more successful because of these partnerships. If you are at odds with your own community, very difficult to set up partnerships. If on the other hand, you are as open as Montgomery County is, listening regularly to your citizens, to your residents, then going out there and saying, can we talk about AI is a lot easier. If they trust you because you've been transparent and been open, accountable, then the partnership will be much easier. People won't say you're trying to benefit this private company or this particular college. It's more, there must be some good reason for you to call us to be partnering with you. So I think the fundamentals of good government are at play here. Again, openness, transparency, responsiveness, accountability, the things that we in Napa have been pushing for decades, really.
That's it's amazingly helpful. As you think about, I love your free lunch analogy and who gets to eat it. Are there areas of adoption that are more likely, in your view, to create trust than others?
Yes. Normally, the government function has some angles that touch people's lives more frequently and more closely than others. Public security, policing. Do people trust the police? When I see a policeman, do I cringe or do I say, hey, good morning? Public spaces. Those parks are seen, and there's plenty of evidence, are seen as a huge generator of social capital, meaning trust across people, that we're all respecting our rules of behavior. I would also argue early education is a good way to form new minds. And people tend to say, oh, you're investing in little kids? That's very good. That's very good. Now, when you say, I'm going to fund PhDs, people say, I don't know, what is that, no? Even though the PhD may generate more profit for somebody than the little kid. So I would argue yes to your answer. No? There are some functions where AI will enhance that social capital much faster and much more than others. No? And when I was hearing from Montgomery County, again, my admiration is limited because you are hitting right on the nail of where society, these residents of Montgomery County, will be happier and more trustful of your function, no? Of yourself.
Thank you. So I think we're running short on time, but would love to ask one additional question. And let's focus on the heart of local economies, small businesses. The report highlighted potential, but also highlighted barriers to entry. From each of your perspective, Gail, maybe beginning with you, what's the most efficient action as a coalition we can take to help local businesses succeed in adopting AI tools?
I think from our perspective, just having the forethought to begin to use our public spaces as ways for people to come together and learn. We have all the libraries in Montgomery County. Of course, we have the schools. But I think part of that is creating public curriculum. We've done a lot of that. We've tried to really make certain that people understand their responsibility to AI. That it's not a situation where the government is always going to be the overseer in terms of using AI. So our initial basic curriculum that we have deployed is around prompting, helping individuals to understand their responsibility to the data that they own and that they need to safeguard. So I think part of it is just beginning to have that dialogue, more community initiatives, more work in the libraries, making the libraries accessible to small business owners, having the Wi-Fi that we need in public spaces for small business owners to to utilize and begin to build their businesses, and honestly, not ignoring elders in terms of their venture into entrepreneurship.
Right.
You know, I think thinking about the report, which is sort of framing the comments that I intended to make, one of the things that we talked about the importance of the self-assessment and really identifying where we are. We talked a little bit more broadly about all the case studies that really should incentivize some peer-to-peer learning that is just really can be a game changer. And then I think the last thing that I would want to just talk about in terms of moving these initiatives forward, and where I think the report can be really helpful, is this whole concept of community AI readiness. And again, that need to be self-reflective, recognize where you are. And then thinking about that, I kind of thought about after the report kind of lays out like 3 buckets, right? And there's sort of the tech power, right? Thinking about making sure you have the broadband and the cloud computing, that the data centers are where they need to be. So the data is not moving too slowly. There's not latency issues. There's reliability issues. And then obviously that power grid. The senator had a lot more details around the gigabytes, but obviously recognizing that if we're going to keep moving in this direction, how are we going to power this? And then that second bucket is the people power, the workforce, the training, making sure there's high levels of digital literacy, not only with the citizens, but the folks that are going to have to, or are likely going to be reskilling and thinking about new ways to be employed. And then the data power. If we don't have access to the right open data, and more importantly, I mean, that's a big piece of it, obviously, but then the governance, and that's a role for both public and private sector leaders to make sure the governance allows for ease of use, that outlines the importance of transparency, and then ethical use of the data. So those were my 3 power buckets, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. It's really helpful. Speaking to the foundational elements of what we require for success. Yeah. Marcelo.
I walk out of the report after I read it with the feeling that there's really no single bullet, no silver bullet that you can shoot, and then AI will spread through your community. Sometimes people ask you exactly that question. Tell me the one thing I had to do. No, politicians tend to be like that. Tell me one thing and we'll go for it. Here, you probably had to think broader than that. That's why if I were to say what is the first thing that will separate those local leaders that will be successful at this and those that will probably take longer, is, do they already know who they are? Do they have an inventory of their assets? Whether it's human assets, physical assets, financial assets, have they even thought about it? I'm sure Montgomery County is miles ahead of the average local community in adopting AI, and I had to say something in praise of Google. The fact that you engage local leaders through NAPA, but you can do it directly as well, in this type of dialogue and awareness creation, is to take one's hat off. I think you're hitting it right on the nail. You are starting a conversation that will hopefully wake up those that are a little behind and will encourage those that are already in the middle of the game.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for the very insightful conversation. I think our focus is making sure, doing everything we can to ensure that this technology is available to everyone and useful to everyone, and not just to technologists or even available only in Silicon Valley and other tech hubs around the world. We want to make sure that it is available, useful, and helpful to communities and at the local level. That's where the rubber meets the road. So we're very excited about the partnership and look forward to continuing the dialogue. Thank you all. Really appreciate your time today. And Marcelo, again, thank you for stepping in. Sir, any closing?
Okay, well, very quickly, thank you to our moderator. Thank you to our panel. As hopefully all of you know, we are a nonpartisan, nonprofit, congressionally chartered by Congress to help leaders build more effective, efficient, transparent, and accountable organizations. And this is just one way we do that, through providing insights and reports. Listening to our expert panels, hopefully you heard that you can't do it alone, and that you heard that there's infrastructure that's needed, people and data and systems for processing, and that assessment is really important in doing this in an iterative way. And so this is a very good report. I hope everyone has a chance to really go through it. And I want to thank our partner with Google, and thank you for sponsoring this report. When it comes to AI, there is no better partner and there is no better organization to help maximize artificial intelligence positive impact on municipal economies. So thank you.
Thank you.
Management Matters is a presentation of the National Academy of Public Administration, produced by Lizzie Alwan and Matt Hampton, and edited by Matt Hampton.